Welcome, everyone. Now, this is my second attempt tonight at doing this live because I had poor internet connection and it stopped at 16 minutes. And then I thought, okay, should I just forget about it, do it next week? And so I was encouraged by one of my subscribers and friends and teammates to come back on and do it again. So here I am, second time. Hopefully, it'll be better than the first time. All right. So today's topic is um, how to help that single man to be a good husband in the future. Now, the situation could be you're talking with this guy already, you are in a relationship, official relationship, boyfriend and girlfriend, or you are in the period or season of courtship. All right. Oh, thank you, Monique. Welcome. Thanks for coming back on. So, do you have any kind of influence when you are in a relationship with a guy? Now, no man wants to be a renovation project. A man doesn't want you to change them. They want you to accept them as they are, and they know that, and yeah, they want the change to come from them. Hi, Cyan. Good night. Good night. This is my second take on it. Welcome. Hope it's better than the first take. Yes. So, but we women, we have influence, tremendous influence on a man's life. And we cannot take it lightly. And it's just the way how you do it. No one wants to be forced into changing, but at the same time, we all have influence and it's to wield it well. All right. So the first point is when it comes to helping a man to be the best future husband, either for you or if it doesn't work out with you and him, he can be a good man for somebody else, a good godly woman in the future. So the first thing is praying regularly for him. So, if you've been listening to me or reading my articles, blog posts, I am all for the book, The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy O'Martian. And there's a quote in her book that says, prayer is the ultimate love language. And I really agree with that. I see it in my own life when I pray about certain things that are happening, and it's just amazing what God can do as the righteous, as a saint spree. And so praying for your boyfriend or your fiancé or that guy that you're talking with from the beginning of the relationship will reap tremendous earthly and eternal rewards. If you truly want the best for that man, begin to pray for him even every day. All right? Because your prayers will change his life and it will also change you. So when I was about, like John and I were already in our serious relationship, and my good friend, who was also my mentor, disciple, or coach, she's like, she's really influenced me. She told me to get the Power of a Praying Wife. And actually, I think she probably might have purchased it for me, and I reimbursed her. Yeah, I think so. And when John and I were, I believe we were either in an official relationship or we were engaged. I can't remember. But I got my hands on that book and I began to pray through that book for him. Now, right now, I just focus on a few portions because in the book, there are different categories: work, temptation, the mind, health, deliverance, faith. Um, yeah, so there are lots of different topics. So I just focus on what I feel I need to focus on right in this season, and I pray regularly. And the thing about praying is that if your heart is in the right place, is in the right place. When you pray for that person, you begin to change as well. So God begins to change the things in your life, because sometimes, like for me, I'm always confessing pride. I feel that's my number one sin, pride. So, um, praying and going through that book really helps me to deal with my own sinfulness while trusting God for the best for John, my husband. All right. So I think that was probably, maybe that was one of the best premarital advice that I got, praying regularly for my husband. All right. So that when I pray and when he prays for me, God changes our hearts and he changes the circumstances and he changes us. He changes both of us. Okay. And so the second point is encourage him to be involved in a community of local, oh, in a local church or in a community of believers. Participation in a Bible believing church is a must for all true followers of Jesus Christ. You cannot escape it. So if the guy that you're talking with, he goes to church sometimes, whenever he feels like it, or if he's a diligent churchgoer, continue to encourage him in doing that. But if he is sometime-ish, he's sporadic with his attendance, encourage him. If he doesn't go to, if he's a Christian that and he's a Christian, but he's just fallen off because of COVID or circumstances in life, encourage him to go to church regularly, because the fact is that no church is perfect, but in that imperfection, that's where God begins to work on our hearts. He begins to chip away our pride. He begins to work on our resistance to forgiveness. I mean, that is the opportunity for us to grow up in Christ when we are among and when we do life with other believers. So here are some of the benefits of him being a part of a local church. And if you are not a part of one, these are the benefits if you also to regularly be a part of a local church. Be among believers of all ages. You have the opportunity to serve others. He will be taught by preachers and teachers of the word. He will receive protection from the attacks and the deception of the enemy. He will be surrounded by people who will pray for him. He will learn to be faithful, I hope. He will possibly be mentored by older, more spiritually mature men. He has an opportunity to give financially, to be known and loved. And all of these aspects of the local church, of a Bible believing, healthy church, will help that future husband in your life to become the best that he can be. Over, he will just continue to grow and grow and grow and change and change and change. And you too. Now I have realized, okay, let me read this verse first. Hebrews 10:24-25 says, and let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Now, I have been observing marriages that are in shambles or have ended in divorce among Christians, I mean. And the persons that I know, every single one of them, both the husband and the wife, stopped going to church. Now, of course, there are people who are going to church who are still getting divorced, and and marriages could be on the rocks. I know that. But I do see the benefits of continuing, of being a part of a church community, a good, healthy church community will do well for your future marriage. And I think it's so important. Don't ever stop going to church together. Even if your husband in the future were to stop for whatever reason, pray that he will go back. But please, you be the one to continue going, even if he doesn't go. But we trust in God that you will choose someone who will from now see the importance of being a part of a Bible believing community, and he will find himself regularly at church. Okay. The third point is encourage him to participate in a smaller group Bible study. You know, some churches have cell groups, small groups, discipleship groups. Did I say care? Care groups. And these groups allow persons to be known and to have a voice, and there's more life sharing, more intimacy being built. You know, these community a community like that is what you need and also what he needs. Okay, so a man can get lost in a big church, especially, well, yeah, on a big church, and therefore he needs a place where he can be known and where he can feel that he belongs, where he has a voice, because men want to know that they have a voice in that church, and that, yeah, and their voice, a man's voice is important in the community that he's in. And a good place where he can have a say is in a small group. And it's where hopefully his opinions will be respected, where he can be challenged, where he can go deep into God's word, where he can debate with others. And so, a small group or care group, those kinds of communities provide that kind of environment. And, you know, if you could even go to a all male group, that is even more potent, because I don't know if you realize it, like whenever women are around and they're both men and women, generally a lot of women will overtake the entire conversation. If it's not one, somebody else will do it. Or collectively, we will all do it. And a lot of men won't say anything. But when men are together and they begin sharing, oh my goodness. I have seen when we've had groups where we separating men and the women, that been told that the men go a lot deeper. And sometimes, like when we have those kinds of meetings, their meetings go on for much, much longer than the women's meetings. And you think that men generally don't like to talk. But if they find a safe environment where other men are being vulnerable, where they are being challenged, where they're being taught, where their minds are being engaged, you will find that men can go deep with one another and really benefit from that kind of relationship. Now, I remember many years ago, so I'm involved in student ministry. And when some of the students graduated many years ago, some of those guys remained friends. And the guy who was more or less discipling them, the older guy, he used to meet with them, just men, and they would have a thing, they used to call it the forum. And they would meet and discuss all kinds of issues that men deal with. And they continued to meet. And whenever one of them was entering a relationship with a woman, they would put that guy on the hot seat. I just see all these things that I wasn't here personally. They would put the guy on the hot seat and ask him pertinent questions to ensure that he was treating that woman well, just to find out from him how he was dealing with the sexual temptation of being with this woman, if they were, you know, practicing sexual purity, did different ways, so that those men could treat those women well. So if they weren't really interested in that guy, in that girl, they probably would tell them, please do not play with that woman's heart. And we need our men to be in these kinds of environments more and more. And to this date, none of those guys and their wives have gotten any I haven't heard any separation or any talk of divorce, and their marriages are going well. So see the impact of men influencing other men and having that kind of community. So you want that guy to have godly men, older men in his life, who have good marriages and who are good fathers. They're not perfect, but they're striving to represent Christ and to be Christ as best as they could with the power of the Holy Spirit. So you need that guy to be to have godly male mentors in his life. And the fourth point is support his friendship with his male friends, especially if he has a male best friend. Don't get jealous. I mean, if you feel it is unhealthy, pray about it, because I know men could really, they can have unhealthy male relationships, and not necessarily homosexual, but just simply um just unbalanced in some ways. But I'm not talking about that. So men need at least one other guy in his life who is like a brother to him. All right, whether it's biological brother or not, they need that kind of relationship for several reasons. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons. For one, he needs it for accountability. Now, I'm reading this book, which I mentioned in the first life, 12 year, the 12-week year for writers. And generally, whenever you're trying to reach goals, they always suggest having accountability, a writing group accountability, exercise group accountability, because when we are accountable to others, we go beyond. We don't want to disappoint the other person. Those persons keep us keep us on a straight and narrow path. So if your boyfriend or fiancé has a godly man in his life, he would be a stronger and he will be a better man for it. So it provides accountability, strength to help him to be strong when life becomes difficult. Because a lot of men could get discouraged, they could get depressed, and they need another man. They need a woman too, but they need the strength of another man to help him and to challenge him and to spur him on. You can do it, you can go on. He also needs encouragement. Another man, a close male friend, can give support and confidence when he feels like giving up. He also needs a prayer partner to to pray him through his weaknesses and his failures. And he also needs someone who will accept him as he is, a place where he's comfortable sharing openly. Like, all men need something like this. So if you're with a guy and he doesn't have this kind of support system, pray. Pray from now that God will help him to have that kind of support. And don't get jealous. I mean, if you think it is unhealthy and unbalanced, maybe ask advice and talk to an older woman and see if maybe you're just being insecure or if you really have a good point. And if he really is imbalanced, don't just break up the friendship. Pray that it will become healthy. But if he doesn't have that at all, please pray that God will bring at least one guy in his life with whom he can have that close brotherly connection, that close brotherly love with. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." Now, how this will work in marriage is that you might be trying to convince your husband of something that is good, and he just may not see it coming from you. It might just go through one ear and come out next. But when he's surrounded with godly men who he's given permission to speak into his life and to speak into his circumstances, he might be willing to hear from them and change and take that wise course of action that you've been trying to drill in, but he's not accepting it from you, but he may accept it from his brothers. And ladies, that is just life. Just accept it, that he will not take everything from you, that other men will influence him, but believe it or not, you probably will be the biggest recipient of this. So don't just feel like, oh, why? I was telling him this all along, and all of a sudden, Peter come and tell him this, and he's listening to Peter and not my voice. That is okay. Be humble and say, oh, thank God for Peter in his life. All right. The fifth point is pray and encourage a good relationship with his father. The greatest influence in a man's life beside God generally is a man's father. And society might want to downplay this and just think with single mothers, they can be a mother and a father at the same time. Foolishness. No woman could be a father to a man. She might have lovely motives, but that is impossible. All right. So when a man's father is present in his life, he ends up becoming a much more healthier and stable man than a man who has not had that, believe it or not. And if you're the guy that you're talking with has that, praise the Lord. If he doesn't, if he has that, pray it continues that way. But if he doesn't, pray that one, either if his father is still alive, that there will be healing and reconciliation in that relationship. Pray, 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 pray. And if that's not a possibility, maybe his father has passed away. Pray that God will bring a good man, a godly father figure into his life who will bring healing into his emotions and bring into his life what he never had with his biological father. All right. So your prayers in this situation and your encouragement will be important. And pray also for this new relationship. I have seen that when persons, even women, they don't have a strong father figure, they tend to give maybe a spiritual father a a part in their life that is not balanced, because they get like, I don't know, they just allow the person to like control them, and that's not healthy at all, especially as an adult. You're an adult. All right, so pray that the relationship with this new father figure is one that is healthy, because it can become unbalanced and unhealthy if his need for validation is so strong that he wants this person to have a role in his life that that person shouldn't necessarily have. Okay, so please pray that it will be a healthy, balanced relationship. All right. So without a doubt, ladies, you have influence over a man in your life, whether you are now talking with that guy, whether you are in official relationship, whether he has already asked you to marry him and you said yes. You have influence, and you could use it for good or you could use it for bad. But I hope that as a Christian, someone who has set yourself to follow Jesus Christ, that you will use your influence for good in a man's life, not to manipulate him for evil, but to influence him for good and for God's glory. All right. So thank you. Yes, if you are liking this, what you're hearing, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're not receiving my weekly newsletters and you want to, because I heard that they're quite good from lots of subscribers through the years, please click on the link, The Irresistible Godly Woman, enter your name and your email address, and every Monday I send out some kind of a notification, and sometimes it'll just be about this live event, and sometimes I also add some pieces of advice. Like today I spoke on ghosting. If you've been ghosted, what to do, and if you have ghosted someone else, what kind of mindset you need to have. All right. So it's all good. All right. So if anybody has any comments and questions at this point in time, please post it in the chat, enter it in the chat, and I will definitely be willing to answer. And it's a bit late, but I had to do the live a second time because the first one, the internet connection was very poor. So, by the way, for those who you're here for the first time, my name is Kimberly Garth, and I am the founder of Petals Bloom, which is dedicated to giving practical relationship advice to single Christian women, and in particular, single Christian women who have never been married. All right. So, thank you everyone for rejoining. For those who were here for the first one and it didn't work out and you came back, and for those who realized that, oh, it's still on and you just joined, I'm grateful for each one of you all. And for those who are coming on and watching the recording, welcome too. I appreciate your views. All right. And I hope the content is beneficial to you. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good night. Bye bye.